What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about the recent news of Uncharted 5, how it's something that could happen, although still, at the very least, very far out, and at the very worst, it's not going to happen, again, depending on your preference of this game. So, Retro Replay finished their Let's Play of The Last of Us. They're a fantastic channel, obviously, Nolan North, Troy Baker. They do such an awesome job. They were playing The Last of Us. They brought back Neil Druckmann and Ashley Johnson, who were on previous videos as well, and they were talking about just in general talk, right? And they had brought up the talk of Uncharted. So let's go over what Neil Druckmann said first, and also Nolan North, and then we will go from there. You just realized we're not going to top that, so we're going to do something different. We're just going to do this other thing. And then kind of similarly with the sequel, it's first of all, do we want to make it? And we're lucky that we have the freedom that Sony gives us where we can choose. We made Uncharted 4, and we haven't made another Uncharted since. Maybe one day we will. We'll see. And then Nolan North, this article just added, we'll talk about it. I think he was laughing when he said that. It was like a more of a comical, like non-super serious way. It wasn't like literally like he looked at him and said like, we got to talk off stage like our agents, stuff like that. It wasn't like that, but he did say we'll talk about it. And here's the deal. Here's ultimately the deal. It's more talk and it's more, I guess, fuel to the fire, if you want to call it that, of a possibility of another Uncharted. So here's the deal. We've talked a lot about Uncharted over the past couple of weeks, and I've honestly enjoyed it immensely. I love Uncharted. Uncharted's always been, ever since I played them at least, my favorite franchise, okay? And I truly, firstly, I feel like honored that I'm able to, it's a weird way of saying it, right? But I really do love that I'm able to talk about a franchise that I have this much passion for, and I've done it for so many other franchises on this channel, but to talk about Uncharted and for you guys or anybody really to listen to me on YouTube is such an awesome thing. So I do want to take the second really fast to say I greatly appreciate your guys' support. And at the end of the day, like I said, this just adds more to it because I don't think this necessarily is anything new. I guess saying it out loud, it's the first time that it's been worded like this, but you have numerous times of people being very non-responsive or also just like saying flat out not like confirming but not denying anything when it comes to Uncharted in the first place, right? So this is a different way of saying it. Neil Druckmann basically saying, hey, we have continued to top ourselves with those games, and eventually it's just like, can you continue to do it? Now, I think they could. I think, honestly, they could figure out a way to top themselves every single time. Naughty Dog is that kind of developer that will push themselves that far to reach that goal every single time. And then, again, nothing really is new. Like, Sony lets them pick what they want to do. I think being a studio with a success rate of Naughty Dog allows that to happen, right? Where it's like, hey, if you want to stop, it's a massive franchise for us, but we'll let you do whatever you want because we trust you. I mean, again, if they start to falter and they make a lot of like bad decisions, stuff like that, maybe Sony steps in. But I mean, it's never happened or it hasn't happened in decades. So I don't see why it would happen now. But again, it is just more talk that like, maybe one day we'll do it. And it's not the first time we've heard people say that. Even Nolan North on Twitter before has expressed interest like, hey, if there ever is another Uncharted, like I want back in. And it seems like as time goes by, you see Neil Druckmann say it too on Twitter all the time. Whenever there's like a birthday or an anniversary or something of an Uncharted game, you see him on Twitter. I think he did that recently, or somebody else did it recently with like a animation of Nathan Drake that he went to a school to like show it off to like a tech class of like, this is how you make like gaming animation, right? This is how you make him like interact. And he said like it's been a long time since I've worked on Nathan Drake and like I miss him. And that I think is honestly the sentiment that a lot of people have been saying. People every time there's like an anniversary, every time it's another year birthday of any of the Uncharted games, Lost Legacy, even 4, 3, 2, 1, whichever one, there's always kind of, it seems like, and it's just my impressions, but it seems like from them, it's like, hey, like we had such amazing times and we miss you. Like and in my head, I feel like they're also thinking in their head like, you know what, one day we'll, and basically Neil Druckmann almost said that, right? He said like one day we'll see, right? So it's like I feel like as time moves on, it's something, especially with them. Now, it's always going to be something with us, right? Because we're the fans, and they're actually their own biggest fans, right? Because they're the ones who created it. But we're the fans. We've bought it. We've supported it for all of these years. We've been on these adventures with him, with Nathan Drake, and with all of them for so long. and we'll always think that, but it's great to see them too, that every passing time they look back and we just all have these amazing memories of Uncharted and just fond appreciation for it. And it's like, you know what? Maybe one day we'll get to do that again, right? And it's like, that's a great thing to have. Now, okay, like if you know me, you know that I really don't want them to touch Uncharted, and because it's a really weird thing with me, right? Because I just talked it all up, and I will admit, even I think that, right? When there's an anniversary or whatever, it's like, you know what? I wish I could do, but there's then the other part of me that's like, no, they ended it perfectly. Leave it alone. Make a new thing. It's a really bad like two personalities in my head, and I feel like it should be that case with all of them. I think honestly Sony probably doesn't have that opinion, although they probably should, where it's like we want to make it, but it's like, oh, we got to honor like just how amazing it was, and will it take away from that to continue it? Now, what do I think this means? Well, let me tell you. This is my prediction. This is my own. I do predictions somewhat often on this channel, but let me lay down a prediction for you guys for Uncharted. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this very well will happen. I think one day, and I don't think one day is in like 30 years from now. I think one day like 5 to 7 or like 7, 8, 9, like somewhere within the next 10 years. I think we get maybe not necessarily Uncharted 5. I was gonna say like a numbered installment, but something advancing the storylines of Uncharted that will, and I will even go so bold to say that will include Nathan Drake. Maybe not as a playable character, maybe not as like the prominent role, but I think if you're gonna do him and his daughter, and he's kind of just like the older father mentor role, I think you do it. I think I'm not saying like I think that that's a good move that you should do it. I'm saying I think that's what's going to happen. I think within the next 10 years, you're going to get a main installment Uncharted game. Honestly, the more that they talk about it, the more I feel like it will be from Naughty Dog. And I've been reading articles, and there's really been articles ever since Uncharted 4 released that people from Naughty Dog have said, like, hey, we've never closed the book fully on it. We've never said no to it, like stuff like that. So there are people in Naughty Dog that are, again, it's something that I think should happen, that they should close the book on it, but nobody in Naughty Dog, I think, has ever done that. But here's where I'll also go. Here's another very bold prediction is there's long been that rumored, I think, San Diego studio that Sony has that's been working on an Uncharted game. It's long been rumored. It's been rumored for like a year and a half, like summer of 2018. I think there were rumors about it at the earliest. It could have been earlier, but I think that they are going to do it. I think that they're, with Uncharted, with at least that studio, they're kind of doing like an Arkham thing with Arkham Origins. Not in the way that, hey, they literally knew Rocksteady was making Arkham Knight and they knew it wasn't going to be out in time, so they made Arkham Origins to bridge the gap between City and Knight, right? So, stuff like that. I don't think it's that exactly, but I think that they're going to continue to do spin-offs. I think Lost Legacy was in part, like a kind of a final goodbye to Uncharted 4, but also, in a way, a really good test to see, hey, do people support these games if they don't have Nate in it? And the answer is yes, not as much, but they do. And provided it gets enough work, and if it's like a full-scale game, and even Lost Legacy wasn't even, I would say, it had all of the qualities of a full-scale game, but it wasn't even. So that's actually a compliment. I think Lost Legacy actually could have been even better if they took even more time, right? But because it was kind of supposed to be a DLC and then it kind of morphed its way into what it was, it just is what it is. But I think that there is a studio right now working on a brand new Uncharted game. It is a spin-off. It'll be called Uncharted, whatever the subtitle is, and it'll be spin-off characters, and it'll be their adventure. And again, I think it's the same thing as Arkham, but in the way that it's just to keep Uncharted around until we get another installment. It's not that they know that there's a main installment being made, because it's not. I really don't think there is a Uncharted 5 or a continuation of the Uncharted storyline with Nate included. I don't think that's being produced. I don't think Naughty Dog is working on that in the background, just no one has said anything. But again, I do think this studio is working on an Uncharted game. I think they're doing it. I think it'll come out reasonably soon, like probably 2021 at the latest, and with its sole focus to be, let's keep the Uncharted name around, let's keep it alive, let's keep it good, and let's see if people can still support this thing. And that, I feel like we could get one or two of those kind of games before we get a brand new Uncharted, like a new, like, numbered installment Uncharted. I think that's the plan. I think, again, like, I think they're kind of copying Arkham in their own way, which could arguably be a better way. But I think that's the plan that Sony has right now with the Uncharted franchise. It's a franchise I want to stop because it just is so perfect, and I think the more you add to perfection, the more wiggle room you give yourself to mess it up, right, to hurt it. But at the same time, I do completely, by the way, I completely understand that it's a system seller. It is a icon. It is one of the greatest gaming franchises ever. People see it as that. It's got such, like, respectability around the industry. Like, it's all of those things. And it's like, can you really let that go? Like I'm so hard on Microsoft sometimes, or even with Halo. But again, same thing. It's like, well, yeah, should they have ended 4 games ago? Yeah, but I mean, when it sells systems and it sells millions of copies every time, and it's just looked at as like Halo is Xbox, Xbox is Halo, can you really stop that? No, you don't. The best you can do is try to honor what's come before and try and continue to make it very, very, very high quality, which, again, for Halo, you could argue if they've done it. So that's the same thing with Uncharted, right? Can you really let Uncharted go? I want them to, but I think the answer is probably no, and that could end up coming back to hurt them when you make 3, 4, 5 more Uncharted games, and then you realize, oh, shoot, the quality has dipped. They should have ended at 4. 4 was the last, like, game of the perfection era, and now we've got good quality, just not, like, amazing. So, guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think an Uncharted 5 is possible? Do you agree with my theory? Do you think there is a kind of a spin-off Uncharted game going on in the background there somewhere in Sony? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.